Lisa. As I'm continuing on with my mini album, I know where the pictures are going to go. I have a lot of embellishments to work with, but first I need to figure out where all of that journaling is going to go and how I'm going to contain it within this mini album. So let's do that next. Be sure and stay till the end of the video because I'm going to share where this cover came from, how I made this, and why I made it. But right now let's get into all of this journaling. Some of the journaling I just don't have quite enough room. I don't have a space big enough to just print it out and glue it into its spot. I'm going to have to do some clever folding or some pockets or something to contain some things. And this here at the beginning of the album is one of the longer stories of this photo that is from 1994 of me putting shrubs in the house. I still had that. And this is a photo from last spring of 2022 when the shrubs came out. And you can see that, I wish, of course, I'd taken a picture of the whole thing before I started, but you can see how tall this is. These went all the way around. There were only 4 of them. They're shown there, and they were tiny little things, and in 28 years they grew up, and I would prune them. I would keep them pruned, but they were still just huge, and you couldn't even get in there to wash the windows, and so they just really had to go. And that's the story here, and the challenge we had of pulling these out and how hard that job was. So I have all of that contained here, and this is the amount of space that I have. I could just fold this over and glue it down here and then kind of do a little pull out, but I don't really like opening up the album and seeing just like a part of a page. So what I decided to do is to make a cover for it, so that when I have a cover that when I pull it out, then all of this information will come out behind it. And then on top of the cover, I'm adding some words that indicate, how long it's been and kind of what's behind the cover here, what sort of story that you're going to get. So this is my journaling. This was the original text that I typed everything up, and then I chose a font and color for it and made a few adjustments. And I've printed it out, and I'm ready to score it. And this is going to be scored every 2.5 inches. I have a 7.5 inch piece here, and I've done a little playing with this so I could see what size I needed it to be. So I'm going to score here. Now, what I want is this, so that this side, this last bit of journaling is glued on the bottom. So that kind of tells me how I want my scores to be, which way I want the folds to go. So what's going to happen is, let's move this cover out of the way. This is going to be glued here on the bottom, and then this cover is glued to the back side of my journaling, and then we'll just lift everything up whenever we want to look at it. And I will need a way to hold that down. I'm going to do that next. So let's put some things in place. First of all, let's go ahead and put the text on the top of the cover. Now you may notice that I'm using ATG adhesive. I hated the ATG gun. I had no end of aggravation out of that thing, but I like the adhesive. So I just got rid of the gun, and it doesn't take up all that room on my table, and I really like this method. So I still buy the adhesive. It's good buy for the money and use it. I just don't use the gun. Okay, so there's my journaling, and that's nice, except it's, you know, popping, it's a accordion fold is popping out every time I open and close it. So what I want to do is to create a tab so I can kind of hold it closed when I'm not using it. So I've gotten a brad and this little tab thing that I had in my stash, and I'm hoping I can hide it behind a photo over here. Oh, it doesn't look like it's going to work unless I put it, I can put it on the top here because the hole is going to go all the way through. So let's see. Yeah, I think that'll work if I go just above the top of the shrubbery. This is my awl. Okay, I'll take my awl and I'm going to pierce a hole carefully through here so I don't go all the way through the photograph on the back. I've already taped this down. This is the page that had the watercolor on it. And I went and punched through the photo without realizing it. Oh, this one adhered really, really well. Oh, that's great. Well, I've made a little mistake there, and what I could do, I'm going to try to pull this up and still go in behind it. If I can't, I can always reprint this photo. This was the one where I left a place for it to nest, and the adhesive is stuck really great here, better than anywhere else. So that needed a tad more planning. I brought my hole punch out here, but I don't think I'm going to end up using it. Right. That's not the most glamorous closure. I could have done a little better job of planning that out, but it will still serve the purpose of covering this up. You know, and this is one of those things that's an album kind of just for me, so it's probably not going to be something that a lot of people are going to see, but I might choose something that wasn't metal if I were doing that again, and certainly work on the placement a little bit. But again, I can fix that hole by just printing another photo. I probably won't because it's not going to show that much. But this does serve my purpose of getting all that journaling in place and not having to take up so much room. Okay. Now, that's one predicament that I had. Over on this next spread is another one. I had journaling here, and I didn't really want to cover up some of my pretty background with it, and the photos just take up a fair amount of space. So I knew that, and I did plan ahead here. When I was gluing this photo on, I left some room, I left a pocket. A lot of times I do that with matting. I put the matting and create a pocket with that, but in this case, I didn't really want to mat these photos, so I just left enough room so I have my journaling, and I can put that underneath, and that's what this card is this journaling. And let's see, wait a minute. No, sorry, wrong card. This card is that journaling. So this will go right down in here, and all this needs is some ribbon or something to pull it up from on the back. And I think I'd also like to round these corners. Done a certain amount of corner rounding. I rounded the corners on all of these pages of the background before I ever started on this chipboard. So I think that will look better. It looks more like a little tab if it's rounded. So now I just need some ribbon and staple the ribbon on to fix that. So I have some Stampin' Up! Yellow ribbon. And I'll pull this out. Ribbon. And you could add a brad or something to that if you wanted to, or a little bit more embellishment. But that's obvious that you've got something to pull out of the pocket. All right, and then there's one other place that I'm going to hide a little bit of journaling. Some of the journaling, I have plenty of space to put it in, including these. I went up on the photos a little bit, or over the photos. And I've purposely put this journaling up here and this down here so that your eye kind of goes across the page. This would have been really pretty printed out on vellum and laid over top of that. I just now thought of that. You can tell that this is one of those times where I can tell I haven't been scrapbooking as much because those kind of ideas don't come to my head quite as quickly as they used to. But that would have been really pretty printed on vellum. And I could still do it. Actually, that didn't adhere super strongly. So that's something I'll consider. Now over here, when I put this photo on, I did want to matte this one. I felt like it just needed a little something to make it pop on the page. And so I chose a white matte. And I thought, you know, since I'm matting this, why not make it so that I can add more journaling in if I need to add some more. So I've created a flip page. So that invites additional journaling. And so I typed up some additional thoughts. And I'm just going to slip those right in here. And this is a really simple thing to do because all I did to create this was I just added an extra piece of cardstock with a fold in it to the one side on the back of the photo, one side on the back of on the album, so it's a hinge, and then it just makes it really easy to see the journaling. Now, one of the reasons that things are sticking worse, we're sticking really hard to some pages and not to others. This particular page, most of the pages in the album, I added a layer of Mod Podge to give it a little bit of sheen. It's the matte Mod Podge, so it doesn't show really strongly, but it also kind of protects things like this modeling paste. Now, I might need a little flap on that one. I don't think so. I think this one will probably turn over okay in the album. And then that's the rest of the journaling. So now that takes care of all of the journaling for the album. Now the album needs some embellishment. So here are a few things that I had already pulled for embellishment. Some additional yellow ribbons, this green ribbon, a couple of different ones of those. I have some canvas pieces. Couple of cute stickers that I like. I think I'm going to look first to see where I can find to put those. I had a couple of things in my die cuts. I don't have a die cutting device, but a friend does, and I was at her house and we did some dies, cut things one day, and I still had this, and I thought that was a really interesting piece. And I have a sun. That's good, and I've got a suns in here, and I had a couple of journaling cards, but I didn't remember having these pulled out when I was doing the journaling, so I probably won't use those. And again, some more fun ribbons. This I probably won't work in. These are cool little cards. I just never quite figured out really great places to use them. So those are some things I have pulled out. Now let's see where we might want to do a little bit of embellishing. This is another set. As I was going, finishing up the album, I realized that I had several things in here that really worked. Like the journaling in here implies that it was a real celebration to finish pulling out those bushes. And I was just really, really excited about it. So I think that something like this might work great in that spot. I don't want to cover up my photo, although I could go over here too. That wouldn't cover up the photo much. So that one will probably end up on that page. Let's look at some of these others. I don't know if something like this is going to work. It's just going to be a matter of flipping through and seeing where I have spots for things. What other things? Let's see, we've started with the wood pieces, so I want to use multiple ones of these in here. You gave me butterflies. That one I think I know where that might use, and I might be able to pull those butterflies out of the top. I also think the dream one I have somewhere to put. Okay, back to the cover. This piece of acrylic came from Amazon. I ordered this for a project around the house. I had a bird feeder that a squirrel destroyed the little plexiglass or acrylic panels. It's not plexiglass, it's acrylic panels. And I ordered some of this. I replaced the panels. And then, of course, the squirrel came back and destroyed the rest of the feeder. So we threw the feeder away, and I still had this. And this is one where I cut them, and I kind of cut into it. But otherwise, it was the perfect size. So all I had to do was punch the corners, and it was ready to go. So that's going to be my cover. Now, the reason I'm doing this is it protects the photo, but I'm also doing it because I want to put a title on this, and I don't want to really cover up my photo. So if I put the title on this, then I can flip it over, and I still have the full photo. I've had albums before that had one of these. This one just didn't come with it, so I made my own. All right, so I need some lettering for the title, and I realized I don't have a lot of red in the album, so this might be a good place to put some red and really make the title pop. So I have a couple of options here with red letters. Let's get some. This will mute it a little bit, but still we can get an idea of the colors. So I'm just going to throw a couple of these on there and see what I like. There's another O. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like that one. That one's awfully modern, but we'll try it. So which one do we like with this? I really think I'm going to go with the green, even though it's not going to be as much of a pop. I don't really like the sparkly, and as I say, I think these letters are too modern. So let's go with the garden. So we're going with the green. So I'm going to do letters across here, and I've got this yellow trim. I cut a piece of this for the album a while ago, so I could do the full width, but I think I've trimmed it down. I think I'm just going to do this much width down here along the bottom. That'll cover up a little bit of that cut place. I could add some of this trim in. I don't know, I tend to think that's a little too much. I do feel like I need to add one of these wood pieces because I have these all throughout the album. So I thought the butterfly might be good here. Put the butterfly right there. So we're going to have my title here. It's going to say Our Garden. This may be too much yellow. Yellow on yellow. I don't know. It's a possibility. I'll definitely put some of my sequins or some other embellishments on there. So I'm going to layer this on and finish this up, and then in the next and final video of this series, we will take a look at the finished album. So I hope you'll come back for that part. Thank you.